Okay, folks, you know, I don't know how many of you feel like I do, but I'm getting fed up with this. I don't know, I think I'm ready to call the governor or something. This is getting ridiculous. 8 degrees this morning. Yesterday morning, 11 degrees. Snow for the last 3 days, off and on. We're having January-like weather in the middle of April. Anyways, you know, I had talked earlier about threatening to start our seeds indoors this year. For years, we started them out in our hoop house in a cold frame that had these grow cables that I attached to hardware cloth, and they're on a thermostat, and then I had the automatic vent opener, and it worked fairly well. If you had an April where it got into the 50s and 60s during the day and barely below freezing at night, well, it would not work this year. So we're starting them inside. And I might be kind of revolutionizing seed starting here. You might be on the cutting edge here of something pretty cool. So we'll see what happens. But anyways, the other thing I threatened to do was buy another one of these 33-inch LED grow lights from Happy Leaf. If you watched my previous videos, you'll see how we had the one set up over here, and I haven't set this one up yet, primarily because, well, the seeds are just germinating. We'll walk over and take a look at them. But the other reason is it's too stinking cold out in the workshop. I don't really have enough wood to get it warmed up. It's in the teens out there, so by the time I get it warmed up, there goes half the day. So I'm just gonna not fight this weather and be patient and do these things as the weather allows. We got to get out and make raised beds yet. I think I'm going to build another chicken cage and more arbors, and oh, I got that sailboat to build. Anyways, I want to take you over here and show you what we're doing here to start our seeds indoors. What we did here is we used these 24-inch planters. Now these are the ones that we originally were going to sell as our planters, as our self-watering planters, instead of the black Polypro ones. And we weren't terribly pleased with them for our purposes. They have these punch outs for drain holes, which is very thin plastic around them, and for the most part they hold up, but occasionally there'll be a pinhole in some of those and they were leaking. So we had to inspect them carefully. And then the material is nowhere near as thick or durable, but we have the inserts for them. So we have about, I don't know, 80 of these things, so we're going to use them. So it's the same deal with the grommet on one end, and then we use the same cup and the overflow ventilation holes. But what I did is I filled these then with potting mix. And the trick, I think, here is to not overwater. Same with growing herbs. We don't overwater so that everything becomes waterlogged. I cut back, I probably use 1.5 quarts or so of water to hydrate the potting mix, and then I use the spray bottle then on top. So I moisten the potting mix on top with the spray bottle and then plant my seeds and then spray it again and then cover them. So we have covers too that are 2 feet long that fit these planters. So in these I planted pepper seeds, these two, and then these tomato seeds. Now you can see, if this thing will behave itself in focus, these came up after 3 days. So I probably have 40, 50, probably 50 tomato plants in there. Now these are off the heat mat, but these were planted a day later, but I see I'm getting germination here too. These are some eggplant and some the rest of the tomatoes. But these are the habanadas, our kind of love-hate relationship with the best tasting, as far as we're concerned, pepper out there, but a little tricky to grow here in the Northland. But I can see after 5 days that, if I can get this to focus, there we go. These are, you know, after 5, we've never had habanadas germinate after 5 days. So soil temperature, it was 80 when I got up this morning, but you know, they've been uncovered here a little bit. 73 on that. That's been covered. Let's see here. 65. And then this one, which isn't on any heat mat, 63. So what I did is slide this off. As you can see, I laid tiles, the same tiles that I used to line our oven racks, if you watch the pizza making video. And because this is a wooden table and I wanted a little thermal mass, I wanted a little heat retention, and these tiles are warm. And then I just bought one of these heat mats. I just got this at our local Menards store. This is Fairy Morse. You don't need a thermostat or anything with them. It's only 17 watts. So this is, it's only like a 10 by 20. So it's made for one flat. But with these, since there's good moisture in the bottom, they start out with a little bit of water in the bottom that keeps them warm. I find that 3 of these 24-inch planters laid with that heat mat running kind of perpendicular to them, that's all it took. And these are staying plenty warm. And then I have the watering cups still attached, so that we're not going to add water at this point. If they look like they're drying on the surface, I'll give them a little spritz with the spray bottle, but no bottom watering. We don't want to waterlog these things. We won't add water to the cups until these plants are vigorously growing. So let's wander over here and take a look at our West 40 here. Now one of the reasons we bought another one of these Happy Leaf LED grow lights is because Peg said, after this winter, I never want to go another winter without our own herbs. We are enjoying them so much. Last night I made a pasta sauce, spaghetti sauce with some crushed tomatoes, onion and garlic, and I snipped a huge handful of basil. Now this is basil since December. I keep saying it's time to replant it, but it just keeps giving, keeps coming back. And then this is flat leaf parsley that we have been enjoying several meals a week. And again, I snipped a big handful of it, and I just finely chopped the basil and the parsley into this pasta sauce, which was as good as it gets. And then our cilantro finally pooped out. We picked that down to nothing, so I replanted. And these are coming back. And now I'm giving spinach another try. I think I might add a little bit of lime to this soil because I had kind of poor success with spinach last time. We'll see what happens. But anyways, I wanted to remind you, if you have our planters, our self-watering planters to use for microgreens, they are wonderful for growing herbs. There are a few things to remember though. One, do not overwater them. We're going to moisten that potting mix initially and then give them a spritz on the surface. And I do the square inch planting. I plant a seed about every square inch, cover them just like with the microgreens, and remove the cover once the seeds germinate. Now what I do then, I tip this I tip the planter and make sure there's no water running out. So we don't have any water pooled in the bottoms of the planters at this point. Not until they get like this. When they get like this, we're going to be adding water to these things almost every day. And again, not just water. When it gets to this point, if you want to have a bountiful herb garden for months, we need to store it right under here. Now mix up our jug of hydroponic solution, and then at least maybe every other watering, I use that. So again, we have these kits available. This is a hydroponic nutrient solution for 64 gallons. So you mix up a gallon at a time of solution from the concentrate that you mix up and just keep it in quart jars. Another video on that. So use the feel method. It's important. Lift your planter with one hand. This one, I watered it well last night. It's already light. I can tell this can use a couple cupfuls of my hydroponic solution, or maybe 1 cup of hydroponic solution and 1 cup of plain water to get it for the next couple days. Basil feels a little light too. This, of course, is not taking up water. This is heavy, heavier than it probably needs to be, probably should be. If you can't lift it with one hand, you're probably overwatered. Now that's the same thing with these seed planters. We don't want water pooled in the bottom of them. I tilt them to make sure that any liquid in the bottoms of these planters flows into the cups, and then drain that off. And we're just going to spritz them on the surface. Now these we're not ready to uncover yet, but we probably will uncover these peppers within the next couple of days. So I know the lighting's poor because I got the sun coming in here and it's snowing. It snows so beautiful. Ugh. Anyways, I'm going to build the other stand, and just a little brief overview again if you didn't watch that other video about the grow lights. I just use 18-inch piece of 2x4 on each side, and I use this 11/16 spade bit, $3.99 each, and I use a drill press and make sure that my hole, which I drill down about 1 inch deep, 3/4 inch deep, and that's a perfect fit for the 1/2 inch conduit. So I measure up, I think these are 32 inches or so, and then 36. I have to get more chain today at the store, and then I need the 1/2 inch 90-degree elbows. I got one over here, I'll show you. Now these, maybe you can find something that fits better. These are just a nylon hose barb, 1/2 inch inside diameter by 1/2 inch inside diameter, just a barb fitting. And yeah, they're, I don't know, buck or two a piece, but they fit in the 1/2 inch tubing fairly loosely, so I just build it up with electrical tape. And like I said before, on the top parts, I squirted some hot glue and I stuck them into the tubing with the hot glue, and then I drilled pilot holes and put some sheet metal screws through the conduit into the fitting, so these on the top rail are permanently fitted, and then on the bottom, to be able to take it apart and store it or transport it, I just build it up with a little electrical tape, and then the top part slides down into the vertical posts. Quick and easy, very durable, inexpensive, fairly attractive way to build a stand to hang your grow lights. So just a quick video to show you what we're up to here, since we can't go outside and do anything outside gardening wise, but we can sure keep busy indoors. And I'm really tickled with the way the seeds are starting in our planters. Now we're not going to have to transplant. That's the other thing that's important, you know, that when you start them in flats or in cells, You know, what they tell you to do is plant 2 seeds per cell. Pay $4 for 20 Havanada seeds, and I'm supposed to plant 2 per cell and pull out one of the 2? Not this guy. You know me, I'm cheap. I'm resourceful. So this way you don't have to, and I don't intend to repot these. I intend to let them grow up, be fairly big, fairly bushy. I planted them about 1.5 inch centers or so, and then what I can do is we can take them on sunny, warm sunny days, we can let them outside and let them sit out in the sun all day long, and then because they're entirely transportable, we'll just bring them back in when it cools down in the evening and nestle them under their grow lights for a while and till they're ready to transplant outside. So I think it's going to be a slick way to go. So let's take another look out here. So let's get through this weather and get outside and get some gardening done. Until next time then, this is Mark again with Backwood Basics. Let's keep growing together. Oofta.